Alright, hello you lovelies. Let's talk all about What If Season 3, Episode 5, a very Riri Williams centric episode with a surprising amount of Mysterio. Was not expecting him as an MCU character, wasn't expecting him to be so central to anything in What If, much less like a big bad, a dystopian level big bad. Really enjoyed that surprise, but before we get into the actual episode, please hit that subscription bell. I love comic books, the books themselves. We talk about comic adaptations all the time, but I love the actual comic books, and I talk about them right here on this page. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and I give you my favorite 9 of the week, and I try to make them the most approachable of the books, as well as bringing you the comic book news and movie news and reviews, as well as TV like this, reviews and news as well. So if you're into pop culture, if you're into any of that goodness, please hit that subscription bell. Also, this is going to be a conversation. I want to talk to you in the comments below. I think this episode especially is a big surprise for its characterization of Riri, of Mysterio, of certain things. So let's talk in the comments below. Please let me know what you thought of this season so far and of episode 5. Now for me, Riri Williams is a character I think doesn't get her due. I think that her introduction, Wakanda Forever, is a bit contentious for a lot of people. A lot of people think that is a weak point in the film. I like Wakanda Forever quite a bit. I think Wakanda Forever is a rare example of a universal mourning, like an entire generation lost a hero, and I love that the film took its time to make a memoriam, and I love that Silence is a character in that film, and I think it's really hard to be a new character in something that's sad. I think that when you've got something that is so purely heartfelt, you're going to struggle to introduce anything new and exciting. And I think Riri Williams was in a very tricky position as a new character in a world and a evolution of Iron Man. And I think Dominique Thorne was in a very tricky position as an actress who literally screen tested with Chadwick at the time. Like, she was always in the early drafts, but then had to navigate coming into a very different movie, and I do not envy that position for Marvel and Dominique, for any of the filmmakers that were in that situation, and I think they handled it very well with all of the things considered. Now, this introduction, this use of Dominique Thorne as Ironheart in episode 5 is the introduction I think suits the character. I think Ironheart is such a genius. She's so quick on her feet while also being very, as she says, which I didn't love that she like spells out exposition. She is very stubborn. I don't love when a character says an attribute about themselves. It feels like it's very like surface writing, but other than that, she was written very well in this episode. I think she is not only stubborn, but she is as street smart as she is book smart, and that is what makes her so unique. She is someone who survived a lot, and I think using her in a role like this, where it's a dystopian world, where she has survived the end of things, and she's still adapting, she's still overcoming, she's still very quick on her feet with invention. And I really enjoyed the ticking clock of Vision as like a pure ghost. I love that White Vision as an antagonist here gives us a little sneak peek as to the White Vision show to come, but just the pure empathy-less, very Ultron energy of Vision just as a ghost causing all this issue. The Alliance, an assemblage of all these characters we haven't had a lot of time with that were introduced throughout these different phases of Marvel. But for me, it was really Riri that shined here, and I think that it was interesting. This is the first episode that hasn't been about a pair. It's been about one character shining, and that's Riri, and I think she deserves it. I feel like the character is such a great invention, that Brian Michael Bendis tone. I think Dominique Thorne absolutely gets that. I think this might turn a lot of people's opinion around about Riri Williams. But I also want to talk about Mysterio. The antagonist this episode, I was not expecting Mysterio to ever be a big bad in the MCU, much less a world-ending supervillain. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the only futurist villains we've had in the MCU. I think the MCU is very good at making inversion villains. Villains that are, the inversion of our hero are exciting, but you kind of know what you're going to get. Whereas Iron Man is a futurist and Mysterio is a futurist, but the dystopian future versus the hopeful future. I love that Mysterio is actually what we are dealing with now. That movie came out 3 or 4 years ago, and from the time I saw the first frame of Mysterio and was given the context of how it was introduced, we are entering an age of AI and of deepfakes and of not knowing what reality is. And I love that Mysterio represents that. And he always has, but when he was introduced in the 60s, those trickeries were smoke bombs. Now, 60 years later, it is actual technology that is causing all of this fear. And technology has always been a sci-fi trope. Sci-fi has taken things that were written before technology was prevalent and exponentially increased them. So Mysterio feels like such a topical villain for any end of world thing. And I love using him with his power scaling here of this actual world ending threat of how do you fight what you can't see? Now, I don't know if I would have had magic users in this episode like Wong. I don't know if, magic thwarting illusions feels pretty linear to me. But I do like that the answer was technology versus technology. I do like that Tony Stark was kind of the Steve Jobs to Quentin Beck's Steve Wozniak in the MCU, and you feel that vengeance, you feel that like wronged nature of what he wants, and then he just extrapolates that into he's just selfish and wants to end the world. I like that he's on his own little asteroid that is well protected and it keeps him safe, and that would be the reason for this giant need to build this suit. And I really liked adapting the Vision concept into a suit, a la a retroactive Iron Man. A retrofitting of technology is very common, so using that in the story I thought was great. So overall, all of that worked for me. Overall, this episode as an episode was strong, like a nice 7.5. My concern is we're past the halfway point, and I'm not as sure about this show sticking the landing as I was 2 episodes ago. 2 episodes ago, I was like, oh, this is probably better than season 2, certainly better than season 1, and I still think this season is better than season 1. But I realized this was episode 5 while watching it, and at this point in season 2, there was an energy, a trajectory, a compulsion through the season that I really felt like an assuredness, a confidence that I'm not feeling so much in this season. There is a beautiful cliffhanger presented at the end of this episode that does give me hope. I do like the who watches the watcher concept. I do like the omnipotent outside of omnipotence question. And I do think that's going to bring an interesting end to the series, because I think this is the end of What If. So I'm curious, as the Emergence comes into prevalence, what that means for the show, what that means for the universe. We already have a celestial scale stakes because we've had so much celestial stuff in this season. And what's bigger than Celestials? Uatu and the Watchers. What's bigger than the Watcher? And that's going to be really fun to see. And I think that's what the way the season 3 is going to play out, is ending in a big cataclysmic way. What's bigger than world ending? This stakes that's coming. So I'm really curious how it sticks the landing. I'm hoping it does. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of this season so far. Are you enjoying season 3 the most? I'm personally digging it. Probably more than 1, a little less than 2, as we're past halfway point here with episode 5. Let me know in the comments below how you're vibing. Hit a like on this video. Also, please, 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 if you're not subscribed, hit that subscription bell. I try to give you guys some comic book context to all this beautiful comic book adaptation as we get into it. And most of all, hope you had a great holiday. It's the day after Christmas. We're on our holiday vacation at this point when this was released, and I hope you had a holly jolly one and continue to. Everyone deserves some vacation, so you're not like Quentin Beck and just raging against the machine and making civility. But yeah, hug your loved ones. That's what all this art is all about, is appreciating friends and family time. So make sure you do as well. And I will see you lovelies tomorrow for episode 6. Hope you're digging it. I'll see you soon. Bye.